Right now we're going to start looking at some theorems and postulates relating to parallel lines cut by a transversal. Now, first of all, when I say postulates and theorems, a postulate and a theorem are basically the same thing. The difference is that a postulate is what you start with. It's like the basic building blocks. And then from the postulate, you build the theorems. So the postulate comes first. They're kind of like the rules of geometry, and it can be thought of as a rule, in the same way as a rule of a game in a game. So, for instance, in soccer, one of the basic rules or postulate would be that you can't use your hands. The only person that can use the hands is the goalkeeper. Well, that's a basic rule. But from that basic rule, we can deduce, we can figure out that you can't pick the ball up and run across the field either. Because in order to run across the field holding the ball, you would have to pick it up and use your hands. So that would be more like a theorem. So we're going to start with this right here, which is the same side interior angles postulate. So we need a place to start, and that's what we're going to do. So at the beginning, when we look at a drawing with parallel lines cut by a transversal, the same side interior angles are angles that are on the same side of this transversal. So 4 and 5 would be same side interior angles, and 3 and 6 are same side interior angles. When we look at this, we can look at this and say, well, angle 4 looks something like that, and angle 5, if we take this angle right here, for instance, and put it on the other side of angle 1, it looks something like this. So that when you put them together, you get that, which looks an awful lot like a linear pair. And we know that angles 4 and angle 5 are supplementary if they form a linear pair. And so that's what we're going to start with. That's our basic rule. We're going to say that if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then the same side interior angles, which in this case are 4 and 5, then we have supplementary angles. So you want to state this, when you write this postulate or any theorem, you want to be very specific. So if two parallel lines you can't just leave this part out, because not all same side interior angles are supplementary. They have to be parallel. So if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, okay, then, this is an if-then statement. If this is true, then this must be true. Then the same side interior angles are congruent. I'm sorry, my fault. Supplementary. Which of course means that they add to 180 degrees. So if we draw a picture of this, now these two arrows indicate that these lines are parallel. The arrows on the end just indicate that this line goes forever. So here we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal, and we'll call this angle, well, let's use the same numbers, angle 4 and angle 5. Well, the measure angle 4 plus the measure angle 5 would have to be equal to 180 degrees. And that's the same side interior angles postulate.